First, it was Russian interference in the 2016 election. Now China is being accused of meddling in the 2020 race. But where does Iran factor into the election meddling picture? We're going to talk about that next. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back. We've talked a lot about Russia and Chinese interference in our elections, but what about Iran? Last night, Secretary of State Mike Pompeo sat down with Sean Spicer here on Newsmax TV, and he shared his thoughts on who our real enemies are and who they would like to see in the White House this fall.
Make no mistake, it is the case that the Iranians, the Chinese, the Russians, too, are engaged in influence operations here in the United States. We have a responsibility to take down that misinformation, to share with the American people the risks that are connected to that. And it should be unsurprising to anyone that the Chinese Communist Party has seen what we've just talked about for a good long time here. The fundamental shift that President Trump has taken with respect to China no longer tolerating their misbehavior and the risks they're creating to the United States, it shouldn't come as any surprise to anyone that they'd prefer a president that didn't take that approach.
And then over the weekend, National Security Advisor Robert O'Brien warned that the Chinese government hackers are targeting U.S. election infrastructure. Take a listen.
The Chinese don't want the president reelected. He's been tougher on China than any president in history. And we're standing up for the first time to the Chinese Communist Party and protecting Americans, protecting our IP, protecting our economy, protecting our vaccine data.
All right, let's focus a little closer now on Iran. Here is a statement released just last week by the National Counterintelligence and Security Center Director William Ivania. Quote, we assess that Iran seeks to undermine U.S. democratic institutions, President Trump, and to divide the country in advance of the 2020 elections. Sound familiar? Yes, it does. And let's talk more about this right now. I'd like to welcome in our next guest, Amir Fakhravar. He is the president of the Iranian National Congress. He is an Iranian dissident living here in America, a member of the Iranian opposition. Amir, great to see you as always, my friend.
Thank you, John, for having me.
So why specifically is Iran backing Joe Biden?
Oh, they had a very good experience with Barack Obama because they campaigned for Barack Obama in 2007, 2008, and it was very successful. Regime created several think tanks in Washington, D.C., believe it or not, and they are all operated under direct control of Iranian Foreign Minister Javad Zarif. One of them is called NIAC, National Iranian American Council. And that think tank directly campaigned for Barack Obama. And many of that think tank's members then could be part of the administration. The administration, Joe Biden, was the vice president. And the regime had a lot of fun. They had a lot of money, $150 billion. Do you remember JCPOA, the nuclear deal, which was everything for Iran and nothing for United States in that deal. And it gave a lot of legitimacy to Iranian regime. We are talking about the regime just last November 2019, killed 1,500 protesters, young kids, in the street with the snipers.
Right. And of course, we don't hear about this because they don't have a free and fair press in Iran. And you mentioned the fact that the Obama administration was very friendly to the Iranian regime. President Hassan Rouhani, although not indirectly controlled because of the mullahs there, his whole entire political fortune was riding on the JCPOA. This is also something else, Amir, we want to talk about. You shared with us some video out of Iran, and what we have, and we're going to show this on the screen, it's in Farsi, but we have the subtitles up there. But this is an Iranian government official talking about that he thinks the Iranian regime may have made a mistake by going too far in on Joe Biden. Let's take a look.
واقعیتش این ایده این ستاد انتخاباتی زدن برای بایدن در تهران اصلا ایده درستی نیست، مبتنی بر داده‌های کارشناسی نیست، بلکه یه خوشخیالی است، یه ایده خامیه. حتی اگر قرار باشه اتفاقی هم بیفته که من بعید میدونم از لحاظ کارشناسی به این معتقد نیستم، دست طرف‌های ایرانی رو تو سیاست خارجی میبنده.
So Amir, tell us what we saw there.
Oh, that's very interesting because this guy is the spokesperson of Islamic Republic of Iran's parliament's National Security and Foreign Affairs Commission. And it's the official guy over there. And he says, yeah, some people, they created the Biden campaign in Tehran, which will not help us that much. We shouldn't make that much noise because our friends in the United States who have influence in election, we shouldn't tie their hand. We should let them do whatever they are good to do. And definitely he's talking about regime agents in Washington, D.C., and also these think tanks I mentioned about them. And just don't forget about it. John Kerry, which was the State Secretary of State during Obama administration, the second term, John Kerry, his son-in-law is an Iranian guy, very close family to Iranian officials, and his best man was Javad Zarif, the foreign minister's son. And it's a lot of relationship behind the scene, and John Kerry was giving them legal advice, was giving Iranian regime legal advice all last 3.5 years, telling them, just wait,
well,
just wait.
John
Trump
Kerry
will not be president again, and you should wait for the next president, which will be Democrat. And he's waiting, he's campaigning right now, John Kerry, for...
Well, John Kerry's involvement in the JCPOA and what he's done after the fact, since he's no longer been in power, speaks for itself. But I will say, you know, John Kerry and others have pushed back against that story about his son-in-law. His son-in-law is of Iranian descent. He's a doctor in Boston, a surgeon. His parents came to the United States in 1975. He was born here in this country. But, you know, there are always concerns about what Iranians are doing here.
One more thing I wanted to mention, John, if I have time for a couple of seconds. In the report you mentioned, DNI report, definitely it's talking about China, Russia, and Iran. This is axis of evil, definitely. And then in the report, it's a mistake. They should think about it, because right now Democrats, they're using that part a lot. They're saying, oh, the China and Iran, they like to see Biden to be president, not Trump. And Russia is trying to help Trump.
We know what they want. They want to undermine the integrity of the election process.
Yeah,
that is their primary
goal. They use an
goal.
example, because I know the guy. I know the...
we got to go, Amir.
I know the guy, the parliament member in Ukraine. He is pro-American and anti-Russian. But they said he is pro-Russian.
We have to be vigilant, Amir. We always have to be
careful
vigilant
about misinformation
about the influence of foreign powers in our elections. We got to go. We're out of time. We thank you for your time, Amir. Great to see you as always, and we'll check back in.